Welcome to Merle's Guitar World. Chord diagrams form the basis for learning for new players. In this video, I'll explain how to read chord diagrams. First, let's tag a number to our fingers. With the palm of the left hand facing you, we have T for thumb, then finger 1, 2, 3, and 4. Index finger is number 1, and little finger is number 4. Next, let's become familiar with the fretboard, then apply this knowledge to chord diagrams. On the left side of the diagram are the string numbers. To the left of the string numbers are the notes associated with each open string. At the bottom of the diagram are the fret numbers. Notice that the nut is labeled fret 0. Dots with numbers are placed on the diagram. The dot position indicates where to place your finger. The number inside the dot indicates which finger to use. The diagram shown is for open chord C. The diagram would be interpreted as follows: first finger, second string, first fret, second finger, fourth string, second fret, third finger, fifth string, third fret. Also notice that the dot and the finger are placed to the left of the physical fret. The reason for this is that when a string is pressed to the fretboard, the fret becomes a support point for the string, and the string vibrates between the fret and the bridge. Stringed instruments without frets, such as a violin, require the player to finger an exact position on the fingerboard, which adds a degree of difficulty to performance. Thank you, frets. Now that you are familiar with the fretboard, it's time to consider chord diagrams. Unfortunately, there are more than one form of chord diagram floating around the internet and in other publications. What I'll show you here is what I consider the traditional chord diagram plus a fretboard diagram. I don't consider the traditional diagram to be the best way to illustrate chords, but there's a lot of instructional information out there that uses them. Additionally, once you are familiar with this form, it should be easier to apply to other forms. My biggest concern with the traditional chord diagrams has always been the diagram's orientation. The guitar typically sits more or less horizontally across the player's body, but this diagram is oriented as though the head of the guitar is pointing straight up into the air with the strings facing you. There is information out there that uses a diagram much like the fretboard diagram that is shown, and I think that this is the way that it should have been done originally. This diagram shows the fretboard and chord diagram for the same C chord. Let's dissect the chord diagram. Notice the X's and O's at the top of the chord diagram. The X means that this string is not played. The O means that the string is played open without fretting the string. The reason for the X is because some open note strings are not part of the chord. There are 6 strings and only 4 fingers available. Sometimes strings have to be left out. The dots indicate where the finger should be placed, but traditional chord diagrams do not normally specify which finger to use. Some diagrams that you may encounter may also include the fret numbers, which is a great advantage. As another example, here is the fretboard and chord diagram for the E chord. Notice that there are no X's in the diagram because all the strings can be played for this chord form. The C and E chord forms that were shown here are known as open chords. They are played close to the nut and often include open strings. The other type of chord that is frequently encountered is the barre chord. The barre chord normally uses the index finger across the entire fretboard as a means of simulating a new nut position. What I mean is that it's like the nut has been moved up the neck to a new position, shortening the string length and raising the pitch of the strings. Now open chord structure can be applied to a new place along the fretboard. This diagram shows the fretboard and chord diagram for the chord C. Notice the new number that has shown up on the left-hand side of the chord diagram. This number is the fret number and shows up because the barre chord can be played anywhere along the fretboard that it is physically possible to do so. Also note the line that stretches across the 3 strings on the diagram. This line indicates that more than one string is to be pressed by the single finger. The fretboard diagram gives more information and indicates which fingers to use. In this case, the bar is made with the first finger and the third finger is used to make the rest of the chord. I'll cover barre chords in more detail in another video. That's how to read chord diagrams. Loaded with this information, there are numerous publications and websites that you can visit which provide chords for your favorite songs. So learn a few chords, play them in your favorite song, and I'll see you next time at Merle's Guitar World.